on bot building with Power Virtual Agents. So this one is going to be an introduction into Power Virtual Agents and how you can use it in Teams, get it to interact with your Teams data. And yeah, so even if you've maybe used it before, hopefully you'll see something new that you didn't know that you could do with all of this. So let's go ahead and get started. So before I get started though, I have a bot that I will put a link to in the chat here. It's one that I created that will calculate your weight on Mars. Just, something you can have there on the side to test out as I'm going through the presentation bit. So with that said, let's kick off. And yes, I had quite a lot of fun making this presentation. I tried to fit it in with like the whole space theme of the conference. So just to give us an overview of what I'll talk about in the session. So I'll be going through, first of all, a reason why Teams is a platform for our apps. I'll then take us into an introduction into Power Virtual Agents, how we can go ahead and get started with using it, some concepts that we come across it with, like our topics and our entities. And then we'll show you a bot that you can build and how it was built over in Dataverse for Teams. You can also bring in Power Automate. I'll show you how to publish it out. And this was a new feature that was added, actually it was announced at Ignite. When was that? 2 or 3 weeks ago, with how you can get the bot to proactively message you. And if these things make absolutely no sense to you, don't worry, that's what we're going to be going through in this session. Oops, and also the analytics part as well. And Rory, thank you so much for the virtual coffee. I feel like after this, I'll be really pumped up and it might be a bit hard for me to go fall asleep, but we'll see. And just a bit about me. So yeah, I'm from Sydney, Australia. I work as a Power Platform trainer and evangelist. So I have a lot of fun with the Power Platform tools. I mean, I think it's quite interesting what we can do with this technology. I work at a Microsoft partner, Barhead Solutions. So I run training and events and, put out the word about how amazing the Power Platform is to use. I also have a blog with some tips relating to virtual agents and some other Power Platform tools. You can also find me on Twitter as well, which I have recently started to use more often than what I was before. To kick us off, I'll start off by talking about where Teams fits into all of this and why would we want to use Teams as a platform for all of our applications. So, I mean, we're all on Teams today for the meeting, so I'm guessing we've all used Teams before and we're familiar with it. But, typically we use it for our chat, collaboration, to have meetings with people. And since the whole lockdown and COVID situation, Teams usage has grown insanely. We have over 75 million daily active users of Teams. It's the place where people spend most of their day. And the last point here is that it's also a place or a hub to integrate all these apps that we use, which of course we can have on our mobile devices, desktop, or tablets as well. A bit more about that point here about app integration then. Teams is a platform to integrate these things, our apps and our workflows. Most commonly, as we would use in Teams, we have these ready-made apps available. Things like our Office applications like SharePoint, PowerPoint, Word. And there are a whole range and hundreds of partner apps that are available and ready to use in Teams as well. On the other side of the spectrum, we also have high-code apps that can be built. These are apps where you might have your IT team developing these, putting in their time and resources to build custom apps for your organization to use, which can be placed in Teams for consumption by everyone. But what we have here is, of course, we know the Power Platform. This is the middle ground for our low-code apps and workflows that we can build and integrate within Teams. And this is what we're going to be focusing on today. A space where citizen developers, you don't need, of course, your developer background to use and to build stuff using this technology. but we can quickly turn around and build things like our apps, our chatbots, publish it out to a team within the matter of minutes, really, if we wanted to. So of course, we have this low-code platform, Power Apps, build our apps without any code. Power Automate, we can connect to the different applications and services that we use. Power Virtual Agents, of course, we can build our own chatbot without code using this. And then Power BI as a way to get insights from our data. Backbone of all of this is Dataverse. If you're building a Power App or virtual agents, that's all sitting on top of Dataverse. And we have Dataverse for Teams, which would have been probably about a year ago since now that I think it became available, which is going to enable us to build these solutions within and on Teams for us. So with that said, the next part I'll go through now will just be a bit of a general overview of Power Virtual Agents. I'll then show us a bit around the app that we can get for it. And then in a bit, we'll get into building and some use cases for it as well. So Power Virtual Agents, or PVA for short, is really a chatbot that we can build. We all know our bots. I'm sure we've come across them quite often when we go and we visit someone's website, like placing orders, booking appointments, finding FAQs. But this is a no-code way to build all of this. Within minutes, we can have a chatbot built and published out that can engage naturally with people and our audience. The other great thing is how we can get our chatbot to take action for us using Power Automate. So you can see here, I had a bit of fun with this one. It's calling like an image of a Furby, if you remember those toys, and a GIF as well. So that is using Power Automate to bring those pictures in. If you wanted it to go and send a message to someone as well, it can take this action for you. Then there's also a range of channels that it can be published out to as well. Microsoft Teams, of course, but there's also things like your own custom website, mobile app, Facebook, email, Skype. So range of different places that we can go and deploy this. To get us thinking, here are some use cases on where you could use the bot that you've built. So the one that we're focusing on today will be an internal use case, something for your employees to use while they're on Microsoft Teams. But if you're looking at the full version of Power Virtual Agents, then this is where you can publish it to like your website and surface it to all your external people, like customers and anonymous. But just, for today, it's going to be our employees that will be using the chatbot that we built. Some common use cases for this, especially if we're thinking about something internal for an employees, could be something like a HR chatbot. Things like employee onboarding, needing to request leave or ask a question about leave, knowing if I can work from home today, are common questions that every organization is going to receive. Rather than bombarding your HR person or manager with all these questions, you can build a bot to, people can go and talk to that instead and get the response that they want immediately. And it's consistent messaging as well that they're getting from the bot. The example I'll show you today would be one from an IT support desk scenario. You could have the bot to take people's IT problems. You can then maybe escalate it to the team from there. You can automate things like approvals. You can build in something like a calculator, like that example of the bot, the Mars one that I put in the chat just earlier. If you're putting it on something for your customers or a website, it could be a way to capture their information for lead generation. Get them to book appointments. I know I've used one before, trying to book a hairdresser appointment. You go there and you just place the appointment. I'm talking to the bot instead. So heaps of use cases out there and ways that you can use it or build your bot for. And just before we go any further, using it within Teams, this is what it's going to look like for the end user. It's a bit like having a colleague or a friend there that you might be talking to throughout the day. They sit there with along with the chat, and you can go and message it as you need. All right, so getting started with all of this, there are two places that we can go and build our chatbot. There's Microsoft Teams, and there's also the Power VA website, which is like the full version of it. It's really the same building experience in both of them. So it doesn't matter which one you pick to build your bot in. It's really the same and ends up in the same place. But if you're building your bot for Teams, it's a lot easier to publish it out to build it within Teams. So that's what we're going to be looking at for today. We'll be building it in Teams. All right, so over here, I'm just going to jump over into my demo. So here I am in Teams. If you want to go and find this in your apps area here, you can just search for Power Virtual Agents. And then here we have some info to get us started, but I'm going to head over to this one here to show us all the chatbots that have been created. So each chatbot that's there and that you build, it belongs to a team. It's kind of like having another member sitting in that team with you. So this is one I created before called Levi, where people can go and submit leave requests. And I put that in like my staff communication channel. And then this one that I'll demo today, I named it Help Desk Henry. I can't read that properly. I put that in this Help Desk IT team that's been there. So each team that's there, it acts really as its own Dataverse environment. So I'm going to open up Help Desk Henry and show us around the interface that's here. So the other thing you can do is you can also go to the app and pin it if you find that you're going to be accessing it quite often. So then it just sits there in your list of apps that you can find here. So here we are with Help Desk Henry. I have the test bot pane where I can go and test out my bot to see how it's working as I'm building it. You can see I've customized the greeting there. It also knew who I am. The thing with Teams is that as a user is talking to it, it already knows their information, like who they are, really. So you don't need to go and ask the user for their name. Then over here, we have our topics. So a topic is really a scenario that you've created for the bot to be able to handle. So something your employee is going to come and talk to the bot about. We have both these things called system and also the user topics that are there. So for example, greeting is something that is already pre-built with your bot. You don't need to go and create it, but you can customize it as you like you can see I've done here. It's also a good way to give the bot its personality of its own. And then this other one with the not the chatbot, this kind of looking icon. Realize the other one had a chatbot icon too. But this one here, it's a user topic. So one that you create depending on whatever scenario you want the bot to handle. So here I have one that I've created for employees to go and log a help desk ticket. When you create it, there are also some lessons that are there. You can turn them on and off if you don't want it, but it's really just there to help guide you and show you how to create the stuff. So over here, I've opened up one of the topics, which is on one of those pre-built ones that are there, just to show us around so you can see what the conversation looks like. So what we see here are the trigger phrases, and you can add these trigger phrases. And these are things that your employee is going to say to direct them to this conversation. And with the AI all in this, it doesn't need to be word for word what you write here. The chatbot, even if I type in something with a typo, it's smart enough to be able to recognize what I mean and direct me to the right place. Over here, I'm going to go into the authoring canvas. Then this is really where all of the action happens. So, if I was to go through this conversation, I might say, I want a business laptop. Let's talk through that one. And you can see it will now work its way through this conversation that's being created. This is one that's pre-built, but if you want to, of course, customize it or create it from scratch, we do this simply by adding these nodes throughout it. If we just want to display a message, we can put in a message text box. Or if we want to ask a question, that's where we're expecting some response back from the user, then we can set that up from here. A few other things I'll mention as well. So call and action we'll take a look at later this session. This is where you can bring Power Automate flows and get those to run throughout. Or you can even redirect to another topic because, you know, our conversations aren't as straightforward. We're going to have conditions. It's going to take different turns and different responses based on my answers that I give to the bot. So, you know, if I say, maybe here, I'm a home user, it's gone ahead and it's directed me to this part. So the key thing here, we can build in these different conditions and branches to the conversation to model it in the way that we want it to go. Over here, we have our entities, and these are things that the bot has been trained or it knows to identify. So if it was to ask me for my email address and I type in an email address, it knows that I've typed in an email address and can pick that up. So really things that the bot can recognize. We also have the analytics area where you can get some feedback around the bot's performance. You can get some insights on some things you might want to go and change and improve and see what's working well from there. Publish is where you would go to, whoops, I switched my screen there, but that is where you would go to if you want to, when you're ready to let it out and publish it to teams. If you wanted to give it its own icon to also customize a bit more, you can upload any custom picture here. And then we also have the channels that are available. So if you're just using this and you are just on your Office license and you don't have the full PVA license, then you'll only have the ability to publish it to Microsoft Teams. But, you know, if you wanted to put something out on Facebook or your mobile app, then you would need the full license in order to do that. Just to talk through the bot creation process, these are the steps you would usually go through when you're building a bot. So first of all, you can go ahead, pick the team you want the bot to live in, and create the bot from there. You can then customize it with these different topics that you want to add in it, and then go ahead and construct how the conversation should flow for each topic. Once you've done that, you can test it out, maybe share it with a few people for them to go and try it out before you let it out to the wider audience. And then once it's finally published and people are using it, we get this constant, or we get this loop of feedback on how it's been performing. So from there, we can take in that feedback and go and improve it, make changes to the bot as we need. So it's constantly learning and constantly becoming better. So we have our bot. This is just a look at the different components of what we have in our virtual agent. So we have our Dataverse for Teams environment, which is a team that we have our bot created in. We can have multiple bots in there. We don't only need to have one. Each bot has these different topics that it's made of. The next level down, our topics then have their own conversation tree that we model. Then each conversation tree from there is going to have its own set of trigger phrases, entities, and perhaps also Power Automate flows that we want to bring in. So then this brings us more into the topic of entities, variables, and this concept of slot filling as well. A way to quickly get information into your bot and get your topics created is to reuse existing content that you might have. So perhaps maybe if you wanted to have like a company FAQ where people can go and ask questions about, you know, how do I submit leave or how do I claim an expense? If you have some documentation on that, you can just grab a link to that and paste it in this suggest topics area. So then the AI automatically picks up on the questions. Just the thing about this though, so if it is on a file, like a Word or a PDF document, it will need to be somewhere online, and you have to make sure that it's available publicly. So you can't have any verification or authentication on the document. But once you have the link, the picture I've used as an example here is the FAQ page on the website for Sydney Luna Park. It's a theme park here in Sydney. But like you can see here, we have the question. It then has what the answer is, and then putting it into virtual agents. It then converts that into these topics for you. So it's a fast way to get stuff into the bot, and you can then go and model the conversation based on that. So once it's in there, you can go make it maybe a bit more turn-based and change it up as you want. But that's a tip if you want to get stuff in there fast. So then, like I mentioned, our entities before are things that our bot can identify. So in this picture here, you can see some standard entities that are already with our bot. So it knows to recognize if something is an email address, a date, a number, a language, a time, a color. And you can also create your own custom entities as well. So this is language that your customers or your employees would likely use. And the other thing about that as well that I'll point out, which I'll demo in a moment, is also this concept of slot filling. So if your bot has a series of questions that it's asking a user, a normal conversation, something more natural might be, I might not wait for the bot to ask a question before I answer it. I might provide all the information it needs up front. The idea of slot filling is that the bot knows when to skip questions. With these entities, it knows if someone has already provided an answer to something that they were going to ask, and rather than repeating it all, it can just move on to the next question that it needs. So that's something that helps the conversation flow a lot more nicer. So next, we're going to be building our bot in Dataverse for Teams. So I'm going to show us a bot that I've built and how it's going to interact with our Dataverse for Teams data that we have. So for this example, I'm going to talk through, let's say we want to build a solution for our company as a way for staff to go and submit their IT support requests. So this is what we want to build. And these are the tools that we have available all on Teams that we're able to use this with or build this with. First of all, there's Dataverse for Teams, which is going to be for our data storage. We'll use this as a way to store all of these IT support requests that are going through. We'll then have a chatbot that's connected to this. From the chatbot, we want employees to talk to the bot to submit a request. Perhaps they can also use it to find some FAQs. We'll bring this together using Power Automate, and this is going to be the workflow that connects our chatbot to our Dataverse tables that we've created to submit a request every time someone puts it through. And I won't cover it in this session, but the session after me is going into Dataverse for Teams a bit more. But you could also do something like build a Power App that connects to all of this as well. But today we'll just focus on the other three that are there. And we're going to start off with the bot that we have. So I'll go over into Teams. Sorry, not Teams, my browser here. So by the way, this is that suggest topics button from earlier where you can go and paste a link in to go and get your content in there fast enough. All right, so I'll just close that so we have more room. Zoom in a bit. Log ticket is this topic that I've created, which is going to handle these requests for people to submit. You can see I've added some trigger phrases, and I'll just head over to the authoring canvas here. And first, I'm just going to demo the concept of how entities, variables, and slot filling works. So let's say I'll open up my bot so I can test it here. And I'll open up this as well. So I might just do start over. All right, so let's say I want to report a problem. All right, so you can see it's gone through the conversation. And for this question, what's the problem about? These help desk issue categories that are mentioned here, these are a custom entity that I have gone and created. So, my help desk, I would like to categorize each ticket based on whether it's to do with applications, desktop, mobile, or people's account. And this is going to help guide me throughout the conversation. So over here, we have some branching in the conversation as well. And depending on the outcome, it's going to remember this as a variable. So I might go ahead and say, it's about a desktop. So over here, as it asks the question, this save response as part that's mentioned, this is the variable that's getting stored. So my response of it being a desktop is what it's remembered here as my issue category. So then that type of information you can insert throughout the conversation. Here, if you want to insert a variable throughout it, you could just select it from here. Then you can see in the response, it's gone ahead and it's recognized that I had a question about something desktop related. I'm going to start this again just to show us the idea of slot filling. So if I go in and maybe I say this time, I want to report a desktop issue. So in this case, it's already picked up that I already said I had a problem with my desktop. With the slot filling, it's gone ahead and it's skipped over asking this question again, and it's just gone straight to the next stage here. So that is slot filling in action. All right, so that first part of the conversation that I just showed us was determining that this person wants to submit a help desk request. The next part now is that we want to be able to submit this for them. So we want to escalate this to our support team and create a ticket for them. To create a ticket, we would like a record created in Dataverse for us, and we'll use Dataverse for Teams for all of this. So the next part here will be about these Dataverse tables that we can create directly within Teams. We know Dataverse as the database platform behind Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. The one within Teams, it's like a slimmed down version of all of this. It's built on the same technology, but there are some limitations. So for example, just on your Teams one, there's a limit of 1 million rows. And we don't have the full range of data types, but there are still quite a lot that are there. And like you can see on the side here, I just tried to do a diagram of the tables that I'll create for this example today. So we'll have a table for our help desk requests where all of the information about each request will get stored. I'll then have another one which is detailing about the types of issues people can submit. And then related to this as well will also be user information. So you can get details about who submitted the request from there. So essentially, Dataverse for Teams takes all the essential capabilities that the full Dataverse has, but it's an embedded feature of Teams here. We can still use it to create our relational databases and then build apps and chatbots, workflows, all using that and within Teams. So when you're creating your Dataverse tables, you will create them in the Power Apps app for Teams, which you can go and find here. Once again, you can pin that if you want. And I'll just go to the one that I've done before. So here, if we just click on our tables, these are the ones that I have created. So first up, I have a table created for my issue categories. Like I've listed down each category, given a description for it. And if I want to add more columns to this, I can easily just click on the plus symbol that's there in the interface to create it. We also have these rich data types to select from. We can make it text, email addresses, automatic numbers, dates, formulas, choice or option sets as well. So this here is an example of the help desk request table that we'll have. And this request table, it's going to relate or link back to that category one that I had previously. So like you can see here, we are using the lookup type. And the lookup is used to create these relationships between the tables that you're using. So then looking here, it's this table that's completed that I'll use for today. You can see for each request, it will have a name. People can type in a description. It will have a status to pick from, whether it's submitted, in progress, or resolved. It will link to an issue category. And lastly, I've used auto number to generate a ticket number to give to people as well. So with that done, the next thing we want to do now is bring in Power Automate to this. And this is going to do the talking between our virtual agent and then these Dataverse tables that we have. So we can add flows throughout these topics that we have in our virtual agent. We can use it to take action for us in whatever system that we want to connect to. And because, of course, we're automating the time manually spent doing this task, we can work faster and more efficiently and make sure these things are getting completed in a consistent process. All right, so over here, we're going to use Power Automate to connect the bot to our Dataverse tables. So I'll just go back into my conversation with the bots. And I'll also show us, actually what I might do is I will show us the flow first that we'll build, and then I'll show us what it does. That might be a bit better. All right, so I'm just heading back into my topic, which is for logging a ticket. So down here, I've added in a flow. If you want to create or link in a flow, you can do your call and action. And then it will bring up flows you've already built, or you can create a new one directly from here as well. But I'm going to open up this one that I've built already and used before. And let's hit edit to see that. All right, so just to talk through the flow that we have in this situation. From Power Virtual Agents, it will always begin with this Power Virtual Agents trigger. And here we have the inputs, which is the information it's collected from the user or the staff member that's going to be reused throughout the flow. So here, I've got the user name, I've got the category that they wanted, I've got a description of their issue. I can add these as inputs in the trigger. Your flow can be really whatever you want it to be. In this case, it's just going to create a row in Dataverse and post a message to Teams. But you can make the most of whatever other connectors are available here to take action in the systems that you use. So here I've linked it up to my help desk request table, and I want to enter in information like the issue category and the description, make the ticket status submitted. This return values to Power Virtual Agents is what gives the bot control back in the conversation. So, if the bot went to pull out or look up some information to return to the end user, we can add these as outputs in this section here. So in this case, as I've created my row, and I've submitted the ticket, it's going to automatically generate a ticket reference number for me. And that's something I want the bot to give the user. So I've added it in as dynamic content here. Then lastly, in this example, I just want simply a message to be posted into Teams to notify my IT team of the request that has gone through. So that's the flow. Now I'll just show you what that looks like as we're trying it out. So let's go ahead and demo this one. Let's say I want to open a ticket. Let's say applications. That happened this week, didn't it? All right, so there we go. It's gone ahead and it's run the flow. So as the end user, I can see the next message after that that's going to display that ticket number that was created for me. When you add the action, all you need to do here, what's going on here is that it's just linking up the variables throughout the conversation with those inputs that we had over in the flow. It's just really the connection between the two things here. So we've got our ticket number, and this has now created our row in Dataverse and submitted the request for us. Then the other part of this is that we also now have that submitted into Teams for us. So like I said, the actions can be really whatever you want, but I find the one of just post it into a Teams channel is a good one to try out. All right, so then the next bit I'll go through is just a bit about publishing. You know, you've built your bot out, now you want people to use it. And we have a few options on how we can go and publish it out to our audience. So over here, I'm just over in the publish area of the bot. You can do things like change the icon that's there. You can put in a description for it as well, so people can get some info about it as they're using it or before they add it in. You can open the bot for yourself to use. You can publish it for your colleagues to use, or you can also publish it out as an organization-wide app as well. So if you want to publish it as an organization-wide app, it will get submitted for admin approval. So over here in the Teams admin center, whoever your admin in is would be able to review it and then either publish or block it from there. But once they do finally publish it out, you can have your bot sitting here as the one that's built for your organization. So as everyone comes in and they look for your apps, they can see it sitting at the top here. Then from there, they can add it as an app. They can see some info about it as well. Just to bring that up here, I have pinned Help Desk Henry over here. So I can just have my chat that I have with him over here. You know, it works the same way. I can do something like log a ticket. And as an end user, this is how I would be talking to him. So this is something new that was announced at the Ignite conference that happened recently. And this is about the ability for a bot to send a proactive message to someone. So I've added it in because I feel like there are a lot of things that you can do with this, and I'll work it into the example that I'm showing you here today. So this is all about getting your bot to send someone a message before they start the conversation, because typically someone would need to type something in to get the bot to talk to them. But proactive messaging is where you use Power Automate to determine something that's going to send a message over into the user. So this example I'll show us is related to the scenario I've gone through. Let's say I've submitted my ticket. It's now with my help desk team. So they're ready to work on it. In Dataverse or via an app, they could change the status to now in progress. If that happens, I want to now know that my ticket is in progress and someone is looking at it. So we'll build a flow that identifies this change, and then we're going to get the bot to send a message to the requester to let them know about it. If you're familiar with the flow bot, then this is quite similar to how that works, except the message won't be delivered by the flow bot. It will be by your helpdesk Henry or whatever your bot is. And just to show what the end result looks like, so here we have field changes. The status is now in progress. Typically, you would probably use a Power App to be able to change this. But then that triggers this message to be sent to the user who requested it. And they can see that information to see that their ticket is in progress. So the flow for this, we'll take a look at that. I'll go into Power Apps because this is where I have the flows that will connect to my Dataverse tables. And over here in Cloud Flows, so you don't need the virtual agent for this. This is done purely as a cloud flow on its own. Here we go, the ticket change, status change notification. So by the way, when you're trying this out, it can be on whatever trigger you want, but oh no, this was happening to me all day. I was hoping it would have stopped by now. Let's see how far we can get. I really did want to show you the flow. Oops, let's try that again. All right, here we go. Let's give that another try. Please don't disappear. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to set it so that it updates based on my record updating. Someone changes my help desk request ticket status, not chicken status. No, Teams really doesn't like me today. I'm gonna give that one more go. Or is it Power Apps? Oh, I'm right here in here, Power Apps already. Please, Teams, be nice to me. I know the browser version is usually a bit not as smooth as using it on the desktop. I mean, typically we'd be building this out on the desktop app. All right, before it disappears again. So, okay, the row is modified. Over here, I've just added this in so I can get the email address of the user who initially requested it. I have a condition here to say when it's submitted, it should be notified. We should have the flow to run. And then here, this is what you want. It's the Teams action for posting a message in chat or a channel. But now you also have the option to post it as a Power Virtual Agent. You can pick your bot. At the moment, it's only with the chat that's available, but you can pick your bot. Here I put in the recipient, that's the person who requested it, and then the message that we want. So let's see if I can test it from here. Let's see one of these old ones work before it fails again. That might take some time to come through to see it work. I might keep that waiting, and I'll show you when the notification pops up. But that is proactive messaging. So then just quickly, hold on, I heard the notification. There we go. It came through. So then whenever my ticket goes to in progress, I can be notified by the bot to let me know that that has happened. All right, so just a bit about the analytics. We have about 10 minutes left for today. All right, so back in my virtual agent, I can get these insights to show me the bot's performance. So then I have this feedback. I know, is it working well? Are people liking it or not? And we can go and improve him from there. The analytics area, it updates every 1 hour, by the way. And this is a Power BI report, which you can't customize from this interface of it. But you can get the transcripts if you wanted those as a CSV file. But we get this standard report to show us things like the amount of sessions it's engaged with, how many times or what's the rate of people reaching the resolution that they want with it. How many times are they dropping out and is it getting abandoned? So for example, the abandoned rate would probably be the one that you want to keep a lookout for. This is where people are dropping out of the conversation and not reaching the end of it. But, like a Power BI report, you can drill down into it and then specifically see which topics are causing people to abandon the conversation. And then there is also the customer satisfaction area. So something you can add in the chatbot is like a standard survey to get the user to rate the conversation. And then you can get the feedback from there. But mine is going to be empty because I wasn't using it. But you have these standard things that you can add in to get that type of feedback. All right, so just to recap on the licensing of all this, the stuff I've shown you today, you can do now if you're a Teams user. If you're a Teams customer, you can build and use your apps, your chatbots, all connected to Dataverse for Teams and build your tables there. So go and discover it, have a play around if you haven't already. When you do want to get into more of a full grade enterprise solution like a CRM or an ERP, this is when you would upgrade your licensing and go for the full version of Dataverse, because there is a limit of 1 million records for each team. And then, of course, the stuff that we're building on our Teams license is only for consumption within Teams. So we need to be either on Teams mobile, desktop, or whatever it is to access the stuff that we've built. So with the last few minutes that we have, I have some resources that I'll share with you guys. I put my contact details at the bottom there. I've been active on the community forum that's there for Power Virtual Agents. You can find me from the username there. And also that is me on Twitter as well, if you wanted to connect there as well. So I have some resources over on my blog that I thought I'd share with you guys. So let me go grab some links and I'll pop it in the chat for us. Power Virtual Agents is probably my favorite thing to write about and sort of try and make things with. So usually I post stuff relating to that. So over on my blog, I usually post some updates and some tips when it comes to virtual agents. And ones that I quite like and I think are pretty cool to try out. So the second one is this space theme bot that I've created. This one is an exercise that you can download like a lab and walk through to show you how you can build this one. It's the one I put in the chat before that takes you through building like a flow to calculate your weight on Mars. There is also an article somewhere that just shows you what the flow and things like that look at if you're interested to go and see that. And then something I think is pretty cool and easy to do is this one here with bringing in images and GIFs into your chatbot to make it a bit more fun. If you've heard of Bot Composer, you can do all this using Bot Composer, but you need a bit of knowledge to be able to use that. It's even quite above my knowledge, and it's not really good for citizen developers. You need a bit more experience to use Bot Composer. But that lets you do a whole range of cool things with your virtual agent. This one here, it's how you can easily use Power Automate if you want to bring in pictures and GIFs into the conversation. So it's simply just linking to an image that's hosted online. You can grab the URL and then build it in a flow that looks like this, that just calls it, and then it can return it from there. So a cool way you can kind of pimp out your bot and make it a bit more interesting by adding images and things like that. And I think that is all for time. I think I did pretty good. We got 5 minutes left to go. So I might go and take a look at what questions we had. And yeah, let me know any more questions or thoughts that you have in the chat. I'll be taking a look at that. But let me take a read through and see what we got so far. All right, so here, just taking a read. All right, so here says, I'd like to build a chatbot for Teams that makes intelligent comments on a conversation that a group of people are having. They're using a lot of domain-specific language, so I'd like to train the bot on those specific words if possible. I want to interject some messages that are relevant to conversations, but involve our product. Is that possible? Something like that is possible. So there are a couple of ways that you can do that. So it might not be as seamless as you think. So one way is that from the entities, this is where you can train the bot to understand the type of language you might use at work. So the no-code way of doing this would be to go to new entity. I'll just open up one that I have here, these help desk issue categories. You would have to list down each word. So you can see here my categories, I've listed them down here, put in synonyms. Depending on how much domain-specific language you have going on, this might be very time-consuming for you to do. There is this other one, which I haven't tried yet, which is using regex to be able to do that. And then there's also the bot composer capabilities, which you can probably try out as well. You can bring up the bot composer via this way from here. So that will probably be the better option for what you've explained there. But there is a bit of knowledge that you would need to be able to use that. Just the other thing I'll point out as well is that over in the manage area, they've added in these new AI capabilities for the bot. So things like automatic triggering improvements and the topic suggestions from chat transcripts. So just go ahead and turn that on. It's a way to make the bot smarter. So really turn it on and it learns as people are talking to direct them to the right place and understand intent from there. So that's something that might be able to help you. Raz, were there any more questions that I might have missed out on?
Hello there. Thank you once again, Rashona. Really thank you for covering this topic for Power Virtual Agents to the community today who are learning about the capabilities of the Dataverse. So I want to thank you. I think it's been a great learning experience for the community to really understand the capabilities that can be achieved. And I think the fact that the chatbot capability is now available for the Dataverse and you've gone through it end to end, that's been really valuable, as well as explaining the different options for using Power Virtual Agents with Dataverse as well as Dataverse for Teams. So I really like your blog, and I really like your demo as well. I really like this space themed chatbot that you've got going on. I've just taken a look at it. It's really good. I'd highly advise all the attendees to give it to play with it, to really get an understanding of how the components work and how the Power Virtualization works. So that's really good. It's quite refreshing as well. So thank you for bringing your energy at 2 a.m. in Australia to the rest of the world here today.
I feel a bit hyped up now. I don't think I'm going to sleep easy after this. I think I'll stay on for a bit longer and watch more sessions, because I know we got a Dataverse session coming up right after this.
We do indeed. That's correct, Rashona. Yeah. So so I think it was really good, and I think everyone has really used it as an opportunity, because a lot of people don't get a chance to implement PVA on their projects. It's something that they see an opportunity to do, but they can't get the project buy-in because they think, is it a toy? How does it work? And I think what you've done is you've kind of really plugged the gap to help explain to the community that, look, this is the space in which Power Virtualization shines, and this is how it can solve certain challenges and how it can easily be implemented on the data set that you are already using within Power Apps and Dynamics. So thank you for plugging in that gap and for really showcasing its features so well.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely breaks down those barrier to entry with people actually using it, starting to like it before, upgrading eventually when they decide to do that. So yeah, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for watching along, and thank you so much for the comments in the chat there. Like I said, I'll probably stick around for a bit. I don't think I'm going to fall asleep after this, so I'll see on if we had any more questions for a little while longer. Otherwise, I think we are at time. So Raz, I will hand back to you now. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Rashona. Thank you for sharing your contact details in the chat, as well as the links to your blog and any social media. That would be really great, so people can keep in touch with you. Thank
Yeah,
you
sure
so
thing.
much.
All right, bye
Awesome.
everyone.
Okay. Thank you. Then that was Rashona all the way from Australia. Fantastic. And from Australia, we're going to the United States.